Hello everybody. In this video, I'll be explaining what it means when we say unreal past. But first, in order to understand what the unreal past is, you need to understand something first. What is the difference between the time and the tense? There's a huge difference. First, the time. The time is something that the clock tells us about. When I say like I go to school at 7 o'clock every day, so this is the time that I go to school. I eat my breakfast at 8:30, so this is the time that I eat my breakfast at. So the time is something that the clock tells us about. Let's go to the tense. The tense is something which is related to grammar, something that you understand the bigger picture with. Either we are talking about the past or present or the future. So that's what I needed to understand before we dive into the lesson. Well, let's read some examples first to understand what the unreal past. I wish I could help you with that, but I don't have the technical knowledge. I would sooner we hired an interior designer to redecorate our house. If only I hadn't turned down the position of graphic designer. It's high time Greg got a job. If only you wouldn't waste all your time on this silly computer game. He felt as though he had been hit by a lorry. Well, let's go to these underneath here two questions. Which of these sentences refer to the present, future, and which of them refer to the past? Of course, here we are talking about tenses, not times. Okay? I'll be telling you what is the difference in a while when we see more examples, but pay attention here. Okay, let's know the answer. First, we have sentence A, B, D, and E. They're talking about the present or future situations. And then we have letters C and F, sentences that they are talking about the past event. Let's go to the next important question. Which sentences expresses regret, criticism or complaint, something that is unlikely to be true, and personal preference? The two letters that show you the regret, they are letter A and letter C. I wish I could help you with that, but I don't have the technical knowledge. I make a wish. I say that, I wish I could help, but I can't help. I'm not capable of doing this. Okay? And letter C, let's read it. If only I hadn't turned down the position of graphic designer. That means I did not get it. Let's say I'm still searching for another vacant job, or I'm jobless. I have nothing to do. Okay, let's go to the next one. Criticism or complaint, letters D and E. Let's go to letter D. It's high time Greg got a job. That means Greg didn't used to have, or that means Greg didn't have any job before. He used to be jobless for a while. E. If only you wouldn't waste all your time on this silly computer game. That means you're wasting your time playing this game. Let's go to the next one. Something which is unlikely to be true. Of course, letter F, the last one. He felt as though he had been hit by a lorry. And that means this is something figurative. This is something not real. Preference. Letter B. I'd sooner we hired an interior designer to redecorate our house. This is a personal preference that I wish that happened. Why we mention all of these examples? Because all of these examples are talking about actions that happened in the present, or actually will happen in the present. Some of them might happen in the future, but most of them are happening in the present, but we are using the past. Weird, isn't it? You're going to understand this in the upcoming slides. The unreal past is a past tense used to talk about present time. A past tense used to talk about present time. So, can we use the unreal past to talk about past? Of course we can. But there will be some sort of distancy. We will be using a different tense. I'll be going through this a little bit later. Okay, the first one. When we talk about the present or future reference, sometimes we use the past simple when we're referring to the present or the future, and this is called the unreal past. That's the definition of the unreal past. Well, let's see the three things over here. We use wish, if only, plus past simple to make a wish. Pay attention. About a present or future situation. Here, I'm talking about future or present time, something which is happening at this time. I wish you didn't have to go tomorrow, but you have to. I wish I had a bigger house, but I don't. This is a wish that happening in the present, but using the past tense. Okay? I wish that I had a bigger house. I'm making this wish at the moment, but I cannot buy it. I cannot afford it. Pay attention here that the unreal past is used to make hypotheses, which is opposite to the real situation. Let's go to the third one, which is a little bit difficult. We use wish or if only plus would plus the base form to talk about annoyance, irritation, dissatisfaction, something that you are not happy about, and to make a wish concerning a present situation that is unlikely to change, something that impossible to change. Pay attention here that the subject of would must be different from the subject of wish. I wish if only you would stop shouting. I wish the days would go by more quickly. Let's recap this slide. We use wish or if only plus the past simple to make a wish about a present or a future situation, and we use wish or if only plus could plus the base form to talk about a regression, that something that we couldn't or we cannot do at the present. Pay attention because a little bit we'll be talking about the past. And we use wish or if only plus would plus the base form to express annoyance, to talk about a present situation that is unlikely to change, not to happen, because it's already happened. Like I told you a little bit earlier, what about the past? Can we use the unreal past to talk about the past time? We use wish if only plus the past perfect simple, and that's how we talk about the past. If you want to talk about the past time using a past tense, it cannot be happening. You need to put some distance. You need to use the past perfect simple or any model perfect to express the regret about something that happened or didn't happen in the past. Okay? I wish I had taken a torch with me. I can't see anything. That means both of them happened in the past. The real situation and the wish. Jack wishes he could have been here. That's the modal perfect, could have been. Would rather or would sooner and would prefer. How do we use would rather or would sooner and would prefer? Like we said previously, we use them either in present or future. And in the upcoming slides, we will be talking about the past reference. We use would rather and would sooner plus the past simple to say that we would prefer somebody to do or not to do something. I'd rather you didn't use my phone. That means you used it already. Pay attention here that the subject of would rather and would sooner must be different from the subject of the main verb. Okay, I'd rather you didn't use my phone. I would sooner we left earlier. This is the same picture. I would prefer it if plus the past simple. I would prefer it if he came later to help me prepare my dinner. That means you didn't. To wrap up, we have two ways to say that we wish that somebody to do or not to do something. First, we use would rather or would sooner, and second, we use would prefer it if plus the past simple. I'd prefer it if you came earlier to help me prepare the dinner. Let's talk about how do we make the past reference. We use would rather, would sooner plus the past perfect simple. Excellent, like I told you before, to make distancy. For the unreal situations in the past, make sure that the subject of would rather and would sooner must be different from the subject of the main verb. I'd rather you had informed me earlier. Two different subjects. He would sooner she hadn't spent so much money on clothes. Two different subjects. Past perfect simple. So this is the first one. The second one is, instead of saying I would prefer it if, I'll be saying I would have preferred it if. I'm making distancy with the past perfect. So John would have preferred it if he had told us the news himself. That means this is something that John wished in the past, okay? Previously we mentioned that when we have different subject, what should we do? But what if we have the same subjects? Both of them are talking about the same person. Well, there will be something which is easier. First, if you would like to talk about this in the present, you'll be saying would rather plus the present bare infinitive. That's for present or future reference. She would rather not stay at home, or she would rather stay at home tonight. Let's go to the past one. If you want to talk about that, but in the past one, you'll be using the perfect bare infinitive. I'd rather have traveled to Egypt, or I'd rather not have traveled to Egypt last winter. What about using would prefer when we have both the same subjects? When we have the same subject and we want to talk about personal preference in the present and in the past, you will be using would prefer plus the present full infinitive. I prefer to go bowling rather than stay at home. And we use it with the perfect full infinitive. He'd prefer to have driven to Bristol. The flight was awful. You need to understand something here. What is the difference between the bare infinitive and the full infinitive? Well, the bare infinitive is the verb only without to. Okay? But here, the full infinitive is the verb with to. Okay? Like here we said, to have driven to Bristol. And to go bowling rather than stay or do something else. Okay? I hope this one is easy. Let's use two different things. It is time and as if or as though. We use them, like I said before, we use it is high or it is about time plus the past simple to complain and criticize or talk about what we think should happen soon or should have already happened. You know, it's time you went to bed. That means you're supposed to be at bed right now. You got that? So we use it is high or it is about time to talk about criticism or to make a complaint. Next, we use as if or as though plus the past simple for the unlikely situations. Situations that might not happen. Like the previous one we were at the beginning of the session. That he imagined himself that was hit by a lorry. He speaks as if he were an expert. That means he's not an expert. He's just a noob. Pay attention in this case. If you want to talk about something which is likely to happen, we use a present tense after as if or as though instead of the past one. He speaks as if he is an expert. That means he might be an expert. Okay? Let's go to the past reference. We use as if or as though plus the past perfect simple. Like we said before, we use the past perfect instead of the past simple to make the destiny. For the unreal situations that happened in the past time. He talked to us as if he had known us for years. Okay? Pretty simple and easy. Let's read some notes before we end up. In the unreal past, we usually use were instead of was. Pay attention to this. If I were you, it's not if I was you. If only is more emphatic, is more powerful than wish. It is about, it is high time are more emphatic than it's time. One last thing. It is possible to put the subject between if and only to add emphasis. If only people cared more about the environment. If people only cared more about environment. I mean, imagine that I'm putting people here in consideration. I'm just giving it more attention. Okay? Here we come to the end of the session. I have here 8 questions that I need you to read carefully. There are some mistakes in them. Just read the questions and tick whatever right. And for the incorrect ones, read them carefully, underline the things that they're not correct, and edit them here into the spaces. You can do this as an assignment, or you can put them down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope you got the point of what it is by the unreal past and what is the difference between the time and the tense. Thank you so much. Goodbye.